What is up, everybody? Good to be here with you. It's good to be back. We took last week off, holiday week, people traveling, things going on, stuff happening. But we're happy to be back here and having some beers and conversation and all that good stuff. So it's going to be a good time. And we would love it if you have something to say, question, comment, input, put it in the chat there. We're going to jump into the show in just a minute. But yeah, definitely let us know. So with that, Nate, give us a couple seconds and let's rock. Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for joining us this week, hanging out for some conversations and craft beer. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how you doing?
I'm here. I'm okay. I'm a little tired. It's still
some traveling. You've been a traveling man.
Yeah. I just got back yesterday, and that always wears you out. Like you need a vacation from your vacation. I think that's a pretty common thing. It's something about that last bit, especially if you have to drive. But I imagine, honestly, flying sucks too. So that's still exhausting if you have to fly any distance. Maybe if you do like an hour jump here and there, maybe it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I was in the car for a long time.
So traveling there's some side journeys, so to speak, right?
Yeah. I did some side quests that I didn't expect to be doing.
Unintended side quests. Generally for anything under about 8 hours, I'd almost rather drive it because you got to go to the airport, you got to park, you got to do this and that. I mean, if your flight's under an hour, you're going to spend 6 hours, at least 5, I'd say, doing all that. Just put me in the car. I've got more room. I don't have to mess with things. There's no security check anymore, unless you count the breathalyzer that I have to use to start the car. But, outside of that, it's all good. It's all
the
good.
Breathalyzer. Huh?
Yeah.
If you get a rental car, that takes a while, especially on a weekend like this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Nate, how you doing?
Doing well. Enjoyed my vacation. I was also traveling last week, so happy to be here back for the show.
Nate is going to be like Fu Manchu before long because those tips continue to grow out on that stash. So
yeah, we're just seeing how far it goes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Yeah, good. I tell you what, Nate, before we get into it, let's talk about your travels because that is beer related. Mm-hmm. And you did a New England journey, kind of East Coast, but mainly New England focused. I know you mentioned you did an unplanned stop, I guess, in Asheville on the way back. Is that right?
Yep.
So
yeah, that's
tell
correct.
us a little bit about your journey and the highlights there about all that New England beer.
So the trip was a little over 3,100 miles driven over the course of 9 days. So yeah, it was a long haul. But the theme of the trip was breweries and natural states, so like national parks and overlooks and whatnot. We drove up through Virginia, so we saw the Vale Brewing. Then we drove over to Dogfish Head in Delaware, and then our next brewery visit was Treehouse in Massachusetts. And then we saw a few in Maine. So we saw Sacred Profane, Allagash, Bissell Brothers, and I'm blanking on one. But then we camped over in Acadia National Park, and then we drove over and I had a chance to try. Brian had mentioned this once on the show, Heady Topper and Cask. So I had draft Heady Topper, got dinner at Von Trapp.
Heady Topper or Cask
draft
Heady Topper?
Cask, yeah, but it was hand pulled.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, there is a difference. So I did have Cask Heady Topper, and then we had dinner that night at Von Trapp Beer House over in Stowe, Vermont. And then coming back, we went to Ommegang Brewing in Cooperstown, New York, Yingling Brewing in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and then had an impromptu Asheville visit and went to Zillicoa and Burial.
Good stuff. What was the favorite? Was there a standout there?
So I think so I went on the road trip with my roommate, Party Nate, and his favorite was Dogfish Head. He thought it was the best overall atmosphere. It for such a large brewery, it still had a very small town, like small hometown feel to it, which was really cool. Honestly, I think the excitement for me of just getting to the Alchemist and having a chance to try Cask Heady Topper was really one of the highlights of my list of my visit. So yeah, I would say getting up there, and honestly, Stowe, Vermont is incredible. So if you ever
Yeah.
get a chance to visit in person, I also didn't realize that Stowe was 25 miles from Burlington. Had I known that, I would
Yeah.
have planned it more into our trip, but we just didn't have time.
Yeah, yeah, I knew they weren't that far. So back when we were on the radio, our Burlington station was our number one or number two. We did real well in Tallahassee, and then Burlington, we did quite well, and we had good relationships with both the stations there. And they had mentioned that. I think that's how we actually got it talking to Von Trapp. Was that they mentioned the beer in the area and stuff that we needed to talk to, and the invitation is years old and probably forgotten at this point, but they said,
Probably.
that, hey, if you ever come up here, let us know. We'll put you up in the lodge, this and that. So, but again, we're talking what, 6 years, 5, 6 years ago now. I guess
Probably.
that end they'll be like, we don't even know who you guys are.
Yeah. Who are you guys?
So it's
Did you
like,
try the Von Trapp Pilsner? I remember that being just kind of life alteringly good when I had it.
yeah.
Man, the
Yes.
early days.
Yes, and one of your mule requests from me was to bring you back a 6-pack of fresh Von Trapp Pilsner, and that's downstairs waiting for you.
There you
Heck
go.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Were there any disappointments? Anything you had high expectations for that just didn't hit?
No, honestly, I think
That's
sort of
good.
just riding the high of the entire trip really worked in its favor for us. Overall, the breweries that I was gonna hit, I was excited just to see their tap rooms in person. Ommegang in the middle of nowhere in New York was cool. Honestly, if you ever get a chance to go to Yingling Brewery in Pottsville, their tour is free and it takes about an hour, and then you get a free two free tastings at the end of it. So that was real neat to try some stuff at the brewery. And then honestly, just going to some of the OGs, like going to see Allagash and Dogfish Head was just really neat.
Was Yingling at the brewery higher quality Yingling?
I didn't have it. I
What?
had 2 beers. If I was gonna have a third, mind you, we got there at 10 a.m. when they started the tours, so I had the 2 beers that they had on tap that I couldn't get in our local Atlanta market. But it was like Lord Chesterfield, and then I had their Yingling Porter, and then I hadn't ever seen Yingling Porter down here. So if I had gotten a full pour, it would have been Yingling at the Yingling Brewery. But I was
Okay,
driving. I didn't feel like I could get away with
that's
running
fair.
a full pint through my body.
Okay,
I would definitely want to see if how
me
Yingling
too.
at
That would have
Yingling
been my
Yeah.
first one. I would have had to
compares to
try the
bowling
Yingling.
alley Yingling. So
Yeah.
is it better?
Well, that's because I mean, from going around, the closest comparison I could give here is Sweetwater, and if you go to Sweetwater and get Sweetwater IPA, it's just phenomenal. And then I've had Sierra Nevada Pale Ale at Sierra Nevada, and it just was phenomenal. Now, some of it you have to think, like here for Sweetwater, I guess that wouldn't be, because that's just a local brewery at this point. It's not like it's a destination for me. But going to Sierra Nevada in what's it, Mills River, I think, or up
Yeah.
there, Asheville
Yep.
area. But going to that, you're in this mecca of craft beer and that. So the overall vibe could impact that as well. But I recall it being extremely good, extremely good. But yeah, I feel you, Nate, on trying stuff you couldn't get. My first pour would have been OG Yingling. I would have
Yeah,
had to.
I
I
understand.
would have had to start there. But well, cool, man. That sounds like a fun trip for sure. Very good stuff. But speaking of gears buys. Speaking of beers, guys, let's talk about beers of the week. Brian, what are you getting into this week?
So yeah, I pre-gamed with a Hip and Hops, the Chronic. I've never seen a Hip and Hops beer on the shelf before, packaged that I
Okay.
can recall.
Yeah.
I saw it on the shelf, and so it's a dank, full-bodied double IPA. To my taste, it was like it tastes West Coast, but it looks New England, so it's hazy, but also had a lot of like, dank and bitter edge to it that you'd get from the West Coast. And I pre-game with that. It's a little bit bigger because I wasn't 100% sure with the shenanigans I've seen the distributors and the shops doing. Was this old product or new product? It turns out it did taste like it was very new, so it's good. Ordinarily, I would have pushed that later on, but I wanted to have it first so I didn't drink it and then say bad things about a beer that was old because the distributor put it out on the shelf in a sneaky manner. but good. So I'm glad I saw that. Glad I had it. Like to support the local guys. Haven't had one of their beers in a while, so that was great. I am now drinking a Trillium The Essential Compass, which is a good old American lager. They did a really good job with this. I like this one a lot. Recommend it. You think about Trillium, you think about IPAs. Definitely do not sleep on the lager. Really good stuff. And then later with the Patreon folks after the show, I'm going to get into a can of Tropical Hop Slam. Happened to come across some of that, and I like it. It's just kind of their bold, juicy twist, as they say on Hop Slam. It's quality. It's good.
It's good.
It's a fun beer. Yeah, that's
good
it.
stuff.
That's what I'm doing.
Nate, what you getting into? I bet we see a lot of New England here.
Yeah, we do actually. So, starting off the bat on the pregame from Omegang, I had their Blueberry Falls, which is a blueberry kolsch. It was really nice. The blueberry didn't overwhelm the light flavor notes that you would expect out of a Kolsch. So that was just a really nice beer. And then in my glass right now from Zillicoa over in Asheville, I've got their Pils, which is a German Pilsner. This is a brewery that we've mentioned in some of our Asheville updates, and they have since fully reopened. So it was cool to not only go and get some draft beer there over the weekend, but also get some beer to go. And then on deck for my third beer this week, I've got from Von Trapp their Dunkel, which is a Munich Dunkel. This is something that I am looking forward to just because a dark lager is always a good time.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And guys, I'm on the H2O again this week. I've been being questioned about my beverage choices because, we are the beer guys and that. So I'm going to have to find me something that's at least beer adjacent so I can have a beverage as part of it, right now with the issues with the beer. It stinks.
It's about that time for the non-alcoholic Oktoberfest to come out, Tim.
I guess so, man. I guess so. See what goes on with it. But some interesting news. This is actually just came out recently, and another New England beer company that we talked to a few years ago, Maine Beer Company. And it turns out that Dan Kleben, the founder of Maine Beer Company, is going to be running for the U.S. Senate.
Yeah. He announced he's running for the U.S. Senate in the 2026 Democratic primary. He will be challenging the incumbent Senator Susan Collins. So his motivation for doing this is that he believes that politicians in Washington are just making it harder for people to succeed. And he specifically calls out policies responsible for the recession in 2008. I think people call that the Great Recession. I'm not sure if that's, I believe that's the official term for it. But which, as it turns out, is when he founded Maine Beer Company, because he had been laid off, and he decided he had a goal of proving that a successful business could be built on doing what's right, including providing a living wage, fully paid health care, profit sharing, and a retirement plan for his employees. So that seems to be working. Maine Beer Company has experienced 4 years of consecutive growth in double digits. So that's good. And Dan Kleben is no stranger to leadership in politics. He served on the board of directors for the Brewers Association, and he's even been had a term as their chairman. So he knows how to run the show. So I have no idea what his chances are of getting elected. He is one of several people challenging the incumbent Senator Susan Collins, and challenging an incumbent I know is hard because they're already in office, and so they have a lot of name recognition. But I also have to wonder what happens with Maine Beer Company if he gets elected. I don't think he's required by any kind of law to change his relationship with the business. I just assume his level of involvement will be affected. Maybe he's going to, be doing less with it. I would assume a little bit to do the other thing. But anyway, that said, good luck, Dan Kleben. It's definitely going to be. It would be great to have more voices that are friendly to craft beer in the Senate. I don't actually know what the incumbents' thoughts are on craft beer. I don't know Maine politics too well, but all right. Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck. And, that's something I imagine at this stage of the brewery. I imagine his is a lot of oversight, as in I don't think the operation of the brewery would be that impacted by him, being a politician. So I'm sure he's got people who can handle all that. And if he doesn't, I'm sure that's part of the plan as he goes, that route. But, talking about a company being successful, being built to do good, I don't know if this is still part of their plan, but back when we talked to him, they were a member of something called 1% for the Planet, where, 1% of all their profits went out to charitable causes there. And he noted, he's like, we do more than that, but that's our baseline, that we start there. So he definitely was very, very big on that. So it will be interesting to see. Wish him luck. Be cool to have him in. He's a good guy based on my limited interaction. Seems like a good guy.
According to their website, there's still a logo for 1% for the planet at the bottom of the website. So presumably they're still doing that, and that's working out for them. So yeah, that's cool. And you know what? I was thinking, like, some people like to micromanage their businesses, but if he's been doing stuff like being in the board of directors already, he has to have come up with a reasonable way of delegating responsibilities around, and I'm sure he can handle that. So yeah, you're going to have to if you're in the Senate. So
that's absolutely right. Yeah. Well, Brian, this is something, I don't know if you heard the term tariffs or how they're impacting commerce these days. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. No one really knows. No one really knows. But in all seriousness, they're having a pretty huge impact on commerce. You know, there's things, Brian, again, going back to you and I being fragrance fans outside of craft beer. A lot of those, of course, come from Europe, a lot from France, Italy, and all of that. And some of those countries are no longer shipping to the United States. And for those that are shipping, there's the tariffs that get tacked on. So it makes a pretty big amount. You know, just like in beer, we have the small craft brewers. Well, in perfume, they have indie perfumers or, you know, niche indie perfumers. And a lot of them have just said, hey, these tariffs it's too expensive. It's too much. We're not shipping anymore. So that's just, you know, a small piece that we've seen, but it's definitely impacting other things. And in certain countries, they're just blocking out American goods. And a big one we actually got some news on the results of is, if you remember a while back, Canada boycotted American spirits. And we got some feedback that is having a pretty big effect.
Yeah. So we like you said, I don't think we know the full impact on beer itself, but like we've got some insight now on spirits. So like you said, many provinces have outright banned the sale of U.S. products, and a lot of their liquor stores are like government controlled, so it's kind of a monopoly. And if they decide they're not bringing something in, it's not coming in. I don't know. I don't think it universally applies across all of Canada, but yeah. But as for the whiskey numbers, Brown-Forman, the company that owns Jack Daniel's and Woodford Reserves, has reported a 62% drop in sales to Canada in the latest fiscal quarter due to the boycott of American alcohol. So that means there's still some alcohol getting in. 38% is still being sold in Canada, so there's still some getting sold. But they say this has had a big impact on their quarterly numbers and will definitely impact the fiscal year numbers as well, even if even if things do change back to normal. On the other hand, they say that sales of their non-U.S. brands are growing, but not enough to offset the impact of the boycott. The actual dollar amount of the impact was not disclosed, but the company's total sales were down 3% for the quarter, so this is pretty significant. Canada has recently removed retaliatory tariffs on spirits, apparently, which will help, but that only matters after the provinces actually start selling U.S.-made spirits again, and I don't know that they've actually started doing that yet. Prior to the boycott, Canada was the second largest market for U.S. spirit exports, and as for the rest of the world, sales were down 16% in the UK, presumably for similar reasons, and 10% in Germany. So we'll see how the rankings shakes out. Will Canada be our second largest market in the future? Will they come back to that, or are we just going to have to go somewhere else with our sales? Will there be kind of a permanent icing over of that kind of relationship? I have to doubt it, but you never know how these things go.
You never know, man. Your end of your delivery there sounded like an old 70s TV show. It's like, will Canada come back as our second largest market? Dun, dun, dun. You know,
it's the cliffhanger. Except
the cliffhangers, man. The cliffhangers. I think there's a TV show, if I remember, it was called Soap. That was kind of something they did, and I think that's probably 70s enough, Brian. Is probably even before your time. There's enough separation between you and I that I think it is.
I've seen that, or seen spoofs or satires of that. Usually to comic. I've seen it done somewhere where they did it just for the comedic effect, where they asked really ridiculous questions that didn't have anything to do with anything. So that
was kind of Soap's premise there too. Yeah, a little ridiculosity.
Maybe I saw some of that. I don't know.
It is. It's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. I know the intentions are supposed to be to increase U.S. commerce with that, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm no financial wizard. I am not an economist or anything, but seems like there's a whole lot more pain than anything right now.
Yeah, and I have to wonder. I wonder if Canada buys more spirits from us than beer, because I'm not sure about how much beer goes across the border. It might be
Yeah,
a
I don't
lot.
know.
I honestly don't know. I know that at one point in time we were getting beer from Canada, and I haven't seen a lot of the names I recognize, and some of them I really liked. I don't know if they're just not they're not making distribution this far down, or if Canada pulled out a while back. I don't know. So I'm
What
not
are
sure how
brands you
much bleed
liked?
over is.
I'm thinking Canada, and I think of like Labatt's and Moosehead are the two
I remember
that
a
I remember.
specific name. It was La Biblioquette or something like that, and I
La
don't remember who
Bibliothèque, the
made it.
library.
No, no,
No, okay.
it looked like that, but I don't remember who made it. And I think there was no, you know what? I did see a Canadian like big beefy hazy. I think it might have been even a triple
Okay.
hazy
Yeah.
IPA or whatever. I saw that recently, so now that I think about it, I still see the occasional thing. Never seen it before, but for a while I saw a couple of them, and I believe the one I'm thinking of had a line of Belgian inspired beer. So this is going back a ways. I'm not
I
sure if those are.
gotcha. Okay.
Sure.
Looks
The
like
other Canadian brands I can think of are Molson and
Yeah.
yeah,
Molson and who, Nate?
Unibrow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's
Oh yeah, maybe the name of the brewery is La Biboquette Brasserie.
Biboquette.
Yeah, it looks like it's I think they were Canadian. And I'm
Okay,
not
we're gonna
100%
move
sure on
on.
that. Yeah, sorry.
So there, but anyhow, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this works. It definitely we'll have to keep an eye on the maple syrup index, Brian, to see
Yes.
how
There
that
you go.
goes. See what happens to us. But Brian, this is going to shock you. You will never believe this. Well, you will because you're going to tell the story. But I'm trying to add a little drama here, like a '70s comedy soap opera. But Brian, will there be more drama from BrewDog this week?
Ay,
There
Dios
will.
mío.
There will be. That's not even really a cliffhanger. So, in the latest news from BrewDog, which I think we just talked 2 weeks ago about there always being drama with BrewDog, but the co-founder Martin Dickey, he's out. He departed the brewery.
Yeah, yeah. This feels like the golden days of craft beer where BrewDog was always in the news for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And it was working out for them then. I don't think it's working out for them now. But yeah, co-founder Martin Dickey has reportedly left the company abruptly after 18 years. His departure comes amidst financial and operational trouble for BrewDog, including a lack of profit. These guys haven't made any money since 2019, at least not officially, and a loss of nearly 20,000 on-premise accounts in the UK over the
2,000.
past. Sorry, did I say 20,000? 2,000.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not quite that large. 2,000 on-premise accounts in the UK over the past 2 years, and that's basically tap handles. And the recent closure of 10 UK bars, not to mention they're scaling back their global ambitions, and which includes reducing their US sales footprint. So they're shutting down shop over here and not distributing as far. Dickey is reportedly shifting focus to the medicinal cannabis company he founded last year, called Waterside Pharmaceuticals. Despite having been out of the BrewDog spotlight for years at this point, like you don't ever hear anybody talk about him. He's still like the third largest single shareholder in BrewDog. He has like 21% of the company.
Would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's no indication that's changed, and he'd made comments along with this announcement that he's going to continue to cheer on BrewDog from the sidelines. So with all the recent here, we're going to get into some rumor. I don't know about any of this, but with all the recent management upheaval, the cutbacks, and both of the co-founders basically being out of leadership positions, people are speculating. I've seen some speculation that there's possibly going to be a buyout. They're possibly going to sell BrewDog to some other business. Who knows who would buy them, but it's going to be a big guy probably. Can you even imagine them doing that? It's crazy. And I mean, I guess, selling out worked for Stone. Maybe it'll work out for BrewDog. It doesn't seem like the most punk thing in the world, but
does not.
It's possible.
Brian, I think when BrewDog was getting a lot of hype and growing and they were doing their equity for punks and that, if you look back say 10 years in craft beer, that extreme, and I use that word like the extreme personality, high IBU beers, crazy ABV beers, and all of that. The extreme, quote unquote, was in vogue at that time. And I think then, and it's just not anymore. People are not on that anymore. So I think maybe Brewdog's personality, or at least their their persona that they put forward, it's times past, I think. And I'm not sure the company, because I think that personality is probably pretty true to the owners of the company. So, unless they can make some changes there, I just don't think that's it. And admittedly, I have not seen them doing, publicly at least, as much extreme, loud, obnoxious punk kind of stuff as they used to do.
Yeah, I think they had to scale it back because the last couple of things they did really backfired on them, that like for the wrong reasons. The whole tree thing that they did, and that failed, and of course the golden can that wasn't just like maybe gold leaf on the outside of a can, which is ridiculous.
I was just thinking of the Equity for Punks thing, and you said they haven't made any money since 2019, so I'm guessing that Equity for Punks thing isn't working out too great.
I was wondering about that. I'm thinking about that. And in the article I read, I don't have the exact number, but they listed the Equity for Punks shareholders as a partial owner. So they have some percentage. Yeah. It's below Dickey, and it may be below some other investors. If they sell out, I'm like, do these guys get paid? I'm like, I guess maybe
they're shareholders, so they should. Yeah. I mean, I guess. And I think that was one thing they made kind of a big deal out of, is that, this wasn't, it was legit. Like, you were getting some equity in the company. I guess I don't know exactly how it was structured, Brian. I don't know if it's like a stock share or exactly how they did it there. But, Nate, can you Google and see what percentage of Brewdog the Equity for Punks holders actually have there? But I guess they would. If they seriously got a piece of the action there, then they would be owners, and a sellout would be, well, that'd be funny if all those guys, I mean, even if they made something off of it, that would be pretty amazing.
Could you imagine the crazy fans that we made fun of back in the day, and somebody invested like 10, 20,000, and they wind up walking away with $100,000? Like, joke's on you.
Good for them, man. Congratulations. Yeah,
they haven't made any money in a while, but they've grown a lot since they started doing that. So that's still that money still could be a lot up from where it was. So I don't know. I'm like, I guess there's a lot of ways of selling this out. They could sell the owners themselves could sell off their share and still have the Equity for Punks. But my guess is whoever buys them is probably going to buy out everything, I would assume, but you never know. I'm not a money guy. So,
and as of right now, we don't even know that that's what's going to happen. We're just doing some good old fashioned speculating here.
Yeah. And it wasn't even my idea. I just saw somebody talking about it. It's like, I'll bet this means there's going to be a buyout. I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. They're cutting back on their expenses. Yeah. Getting all the people, getting the trouble people out of the way. And I don't think Martin Dickey was ever a trouble person, but if he knows they're going to sell out, he's like, no, I'm out. I don't want to be part of this after it sells out. I'm stepping away now. So my reputation isn't sullied by the fact that this punk organization did eventually sell out to somebody. So it's going to be really interesting. I have never been more excited to watch the news for
to watch drama.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so looking forward to how this turns out.
Yeah, Dickey was definitely more low profile in the overall drama. Maybe that was by intention. Maybe he's like, no, I'm going to stay back here, man. I'm going to stay back here in the shadows.
I think that he was the hands-on guy. The other guy was the pitch man. They always talked about the other guy was the face of it, and the other, Dickey was the guy.
The voice.
Watt was the face. The voice. And Dickey was the guy that actually made the beer. He made the stuff that would sell, So he's the reason they were successful, at least in a large portion, because he was making beer that was good enough to sell.
So somewhat related here, Brian, we've got, and there's people that still remember the old days of Scofflaw Brewing and have plenty to say about it and that, but I think Scofflaw is an example of, they were pretty extreme in their younger days. And, they made a lot of noise. They upset a lot of people and that, but they've just been kind of chugging along here lately. I haven't seen anything that dramatic from them or extreme from them. And So maybe that was one that they just kind of, got their mojo, got things going there. I don't know. But
I
yeah,
think we've seen a big shift. Like if you look at what social media was like,
sure.
10, 15, 20 years ago, there was a period of time where being edgy and being a jerk was actually funny and people liked it. And they're like big, like the Wendy's accounts and things like that, where they were super snarky and like people loved
The
that. And then
Wendy's
later
account's
on,
pretty awesome.
everybody turned on it. I'm like, man, that's like you got in trouble for being edgy. So like there's a complete change of what's popular now. Like what you can't say the same things. And I'm even talking about things that are like offensive, like just being snarky. People were getting torn down for being snarky, whereas before they were being applauded for saying something funny. So yeah, I think there's just been a complete turnaround in what people think is acceptable behavior in public, what they want.
Just
So
different. I guess that's a
yeah.
good thing, man. I tell you what, though, the fact that being snarky is going out of style does not really bode well for my personality. I mean,
No,
that's unfortunate news for me.
I
So
don't much care for it. I've seen some of those accounts where they're much more kid gloves. They're like
yeah,
they're definitely they're avoiding offending people is a capital sin right now, and you cannot do that. So all these accounts that would push right up to the edge and offend a few people, but it was generally considered funny. Like they're not doing that anymore. Like a lot of them
Monday
I've seen.
night used to talk about sleeping with Sweetwater's mom on
Yes,
Twitter.
and you can't do that anymore. And they were both in on it. And they were both having a good time. But
Yeah.
now you can't do it because it's gonna
Yeah.
offend somebody, and then somebody's gonna call for their heads, and we got to destroy these businesses.
I think they did something like Monday night, like nailed a necktie to their Sweetwater sign, and they like put a fish on Monday night. It was, and they would go back and forth at each other on Twitter back then. So I don't even think people are using Twitter anymore, except for Brian. Brian still posts these beer pics there.
Yeah, the beer pictures and about the show and we all that. I still think it's the best format. I think that I want to be someplace where I can post just text. I don't want to be someplace where all it is just a wall of selfies, because that's what a lot of the other things are. And
well, that's
Facebook
even
is for
Instagram.
grandparents. So like I don't want to go there.
See, Brian, I moved from Twitter to Instagram because I like posting pictures. Here's a picture of my beer. Here's that. And at one time, Twitter was just text.
Yeah.
So, but now Instagram, no one's even posting pictures there. It's like TikTok. It's all about the video content. And you know what? That's the new frontier for edgy people. You almost got to be like a carnival pitchman on TikTok. Like those are the people that get attention on there. So we're too old, Brian. We've seen all these changes. Interesting. Well, Nate, any news for us before we go on here?
Yeah, so the best I've found so far is on the key Brewdog shareholders, the equity for Punks is lumped into this others category, which rates at 29%.
All right.
Martin Dickey and James Watt combined has 43% shareholders, and then this TSG group, this TS group has 23%. So the others category is a large chunk, but on its own, they're not going to have too much of a controlling vote.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Well, Brian, how about we give a shout out to our sponsor, Truck and Tap?
What a great idea. So we've hit that point in summer, and it's still technically summer in Georgia, where Georgia tries to trick us into thinking it's already fall, but don't believe the lies. We still have a few days. We may have a few days of cooler temperature this week and, here and there, but summer is far from over, and fall will still be summer for a little while too, probably if all holds true to the past. At the same time, do take advantage of the excellent patio weather at Truck and Tap, because sitting on the patio in good weather is great, but sitting on the patio in good weather with a beer is even better. So, and what beer should you have? Well, I have a few ideas in my beer picks for the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with a collaboration between Creature Comforts and Halfway Crooks called That's a 10 on the side pull tap. It's the duo's honest interpretation of a 10-degree Czech pale lager, which is the most commonly consumed lager in the Czech Republic. No surprise, it features Czech malts, Czech hops, and Czech brewing techniques. And reportedly features assertive hop flavors and a supreme balance. So I am totally sold on this beer. I think they're going to do a great job with it. Either one of them would do a great job together. It'll probably be marvelous. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Tripping Animals Tropical Trupio. I think it's Trupio. I don't know.
You
It's a
don't
fruit.
even know what you're getting, Brian.
Yeah, I looked at that and I'm like, I thought I understood what that was. I'm like, no, Tropical Trupio, and it's confusing. I don't know what that means, but it's a fruited kettle sour featuring generous amounts of mango, guava, and prickly pear. It does sound like a perfect patio beer to me, so I don't really care what the name means, honestly. But at Truck and Tap, Alfredo, my pick is Green Man's ESB. I have a lot of love for ESB style of beer. It can be hard to find a good one, especially on tap. Green Man ESB is a good one, and if you've never had it, you need to try it. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm getting New Realm's Fooder Age Czech Pilsner on the side pull tap. There is a lot going on here, and all of it sounds good. It's a crisp Pilsner with Saaz hops and a healthy dose of oak, because it's been in a Fooder. And it's on the side pull tap, and it sounds like a beer you just can't miss. So there you have my beer picks for the week. As always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, check out truckandtap.com. If the taps change quickly, you never know what great new beer might be going on, or what beer I've just recommended. Maybe maybe it kicked by the time you get there. You never know. And if you'd like to see what food trucks are serving and what events are happening, trivia, karaoke, music, that sort of thing, you can also find that at truckandtap.com. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com. So check it out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thanks, Truck and Tap. We appreciate you. Well, Brian, as we talk about all these breweries and their troubles and their struggles and their lack of making profit and all that, we do still hear about some growing out there and doing well. And it sounds like Guinness is one of those that they're doing well, or at least they're going to act like they are, because they are planning a major expansion.
Yeah, they're still rolling in that splitting the G money. In response to the growing global demand for Guinness and Guinness 0.0, Diageo, the parent company of Guinness, is investing €200 million in a new brewery in County Kildare, Ireland. The expansion will more than double Guinness's capacity to 4.5 million hectoliters. That's a heck of a lot of liters. That's why it's called hectoliters. Yes, indeed. The expansion will serve emerging markets for Guinness. The new facility will also brew other Diageo brands, including Rockshore, which I've never heard of, I don't think, Harp, Hop House 13, Smithwick's, and Carlsberg. The goal is to alleviate the pressure on the original St. James Gate Brewery. St. James, yes. I'm really tongue-tied today for some reason. The growth of Guinness 0.0 is a key driver in the expansion, with sales growing by 161% between June 2022 and March 2025. Diageo says the St. James Gate Brewery in Dublin will remain the heart and soul of Guinness. It will continue to brew for the largest and most established markets, including the UK, Ireland, and the US. But I suspect a big reason for the expansion is the shortages we heard about in the UK last year. Reportedly, some places were even having to ration their Guinness. Like you get a token and you can only have one Guinness when you show up.
Yeah, the coupons, war coupons to get your Guinness.
Exactly.
There, huh?
People lining up like it's the 70s getting gas. But
sad.
Yeah, we never had an issue with that here in the U.S. As far as I know, they said we wouldn't, and nobody ever complained about it. At the time, I believe they blamed a logistical issue, not the actual brewing capacity. But anyway, just for fun, I asked AI what Guinness's emerging markets are, because that's what the new brewery is going to service. He told me China, parts of Africa, and parts of Southeast Asia. But I also learned that Nigeria reportedly drinks more Guinness than Ireland. Nigeria does. Probably the population. It's got to be volume or something like that. You have to, if you believe AI. AI said this.
I literally never believe anything from AI. It just straight lies. But I don't know the population of Ireland or the population of Nigeria. I mean, because to be honest, if that's a fact, we probably drink a whole lot more Guinness than Ireland does. So, I mean,
True.
Just because of the size of our country here. So.
I think,
or maybe not. Maybe I know it's a religion in Ireland, so maybe they're going for it. But Nigeria, huh? Okay, all right.
That's what they say. I think it really is a population thing. I want to say that the population of Ireland, and maybe Mike Nate can Google this. I want to say I heard the population of Ireland.
He's got to start listening to us questions and stuff and get ahead of us on those Googles.
Anticipate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Zach West. He thinks Nigeria has its own brewery. I think they
I,
do. I actually think
you
they
know
do.
what? The more we talk about it, I feel like maybe they commented that they had some kind of like, I don't think it's like Guinness, the top one, but I think like Guinness Export Stout or something. It seems like I remember this. Nate, what you got for us?
All right, so the population of Ireland is 5.38 million as of
So
last year.
Atlanta,
Really?
or less than
Okay.
Atlanta.
The
Gotcha.
population of Nigeria as of last year is 232.7 million.
Oh, so
Okay, so
easily,
that has to be,
easily
yeah.
drink
They're
more.
they're
Yeah.
much bigger there. Yeah. Where was it, Brian, that we saw like the brewer, like someone firebombing a brewery, like throwing a Molotov over a fence? Was that
Oh.
Nigeria?
No. I think it was Democratic
I
Congo.
think you're right. I think it was
Democratic Republic of Congo. I want to say.
Democratic Republic of Congo. Yeah.
And there was a whole
Interesting.
thing with
Now
Russia
I
being
want to know
involved in
more
that.
about.
Yeah.
Now I want to know more about brewing in Africa. I want to know about that. We'll have to look into that. We'll have to find some more information. But yeah, interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. But cool to see. Hey, at least somebody's succeeding there. Drink your Guinness. They get a pass from me as being big beer. Like I know Diageo owns them. I know Diageo is big beer and all of that, but it's Guinness, man. And sometimes you need a pint of Guinness is kind of my thing.
It's a
And
really
to be
well-made
honest,
beer. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not hard line on the big beer thing. I just typically I will choose craft over that. So
Usually.
it's not going to be, I don't typically go seeking out those, but anyhow.
You know, Zach made me think that the Nigeria, I think, has its own brewery. That makes sense. I think Malaysia had its own Guinness brewery, which I think was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I don't know if they still do. I think that they did because when I was in Malaysia, like over 20 years ago, Guinness was widely available. So
Guinness opened their Nigerian brewery 75 years ago.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. Okay.
They've been there a while, huh?
So
that is interesting stuff. Good old Nigerians and their Guinness, man. Lovely day for a Guinness in
Indeed.
Nigeria. Well, I mean, Nigeria seems to be getting their drink on there, but Brian, Belgium, everywhere. It's hitting everywhere. Belgian beer consumption is down significantly, it says.
Yeah, we've been hearing about a lot of like really bad news and like bad statistics in the UK, especially with the number of pubs closing and things like that. But beer consumption in Belgium has dropped by 20% over the last decade, which is crazy big numbers. There was a steep 6% drop in 2023, followed by a 2.1% drop in 2024. Sales at both bars and restaurants, as well as beer stores, have been negatively affected, with drops of 2.9% at bars and restaurants and 1.5% at beer stores. Additionally, 6 Belgian breweries closed in 2024, reducing the total number in the country to 411. Belgian beer exports, which have historically offset domestic sales declines, are also falling, decreasing by 7.5% in 2023 and 3.4% in 2024. The decline is attributed to several factors, including economic pressures, rising costs, and geopolitical instability. The temptation here is to, mention tariffs at this point, which can't be helping things currently, but these numbers are all pre-tariff. So despite the difficulties, 70% of Belgian beer is still sold internationally, and the industry is investing in modernization and sustainability and some other things to help support that. And all I can say is if you like having Belgian beer around, now is a great time to start drinking some of it. Like
Drink up.
Right now, it's cooling off a little bit. Get you some Goldens, get you some triples. We're moving into a season where we'll start getting to some quads and some doubles. Like, let's just rotate a little in, and get some saisons all year round. Make it a saison.
Yeah,
make it
a saison year.
Yeah,
make it a saison year. Absolutely. Belgian beer and Brian again, man, good stuff. And it doesn't have the hype it did a while ago on the Belgian beers. So still some good stuff out there though.
It's a good thing we have Christmas because you cannot have you cannot drink at Christmas without drinking some Belgian beers. So
right.
Good thing for them that is that is so much tied together because this would be really bad for them.
I mean, I remember a time when the bulk of my drinking was Belgian beers because we just didn't have the variety from American brewers at the time that we do now. But good old American beer.
Were you there the one time where we were at a cigar shop and we drank a place out of what was it? The Quads. Everybody was drinking in the heat. Where was that? Was that is New Orleans? And it's like high 80s, 90s, and it's just hot, and everybody's drinking Belgian quads. And
I don't think I was there for that.
Dry.
Yeah.
We drank the place dry. They were out of them by the end of the day. They weren't ready for us to be there. And that was the best beer around, and people were getting lit. It was pretty crazy.
I imagine if you're sitting around hammering that's New Orleans kind of brings that on too. Like if you drink in general, you're gonna go off in New Orleans there. So especially, I mean, if you were at a cigar bar in New Orleans, I'm assuming you were down at one of the trade shows.
Yeah.
And those at the time, that was just like, some of the guys were doing work, but a lot of folks like you were there for the parties and that
mostly
that they threw, because all the cigar companies throw really big parties. And that's the last time I went to Vegas. I remember Nestor Miranda did a real big party, and he rented out like a townhome condo thing kind of on Bourbon Street, and had a full catered meal. And I know my beer memory was, who was the guy that was like Don Pepin's head guy there? Jose, I think, something. I'm forgetting his last name.
Oh, head guy.
But anyhow, we were to not drag this out. We were in a cigar bar there, and he was literally buying cases of Heineken and going around holding the whole case in the bar with a bottle opener and buying beer for the entire bar there, so it's good times, man. Good times.
Honestly, but I haven't gone to any of those in a couple of years, but they were petering out. I don't know what happened, but they were getting smaller and smaller because some of those were pretty epic,
The people I know that still go to it say it's nothing like it used to be.
No,
it is a little.
Not.
It sounds like it is more a true trade show now than kind of what it was back in the day.
Ah, dang it! All business. That's
You're right.
lame.
I don't even think it's IPCPR anymore, which is used in that International Premium Cigar and Pipe Retailers.
Yeah, it went from RTDA to IPCPR, and
I think it's
it might
something
be
else
something
now.
else.
Yeah,
and it has. It's changed since the last time I went. So
madness. So I am going to be 99.9% confident that I know both of your answers to this question, but not everybody feels this way. When you go to a bar, and let's say you get a shaker pint glass of beer, or any, but let's use a shaker pint as an example here. Do you want beer all the way to the top of that glass, or do you want a head cap on that beer?
I definitely want some head on the top of the beer.
Yeah.
If I can.
Nate, how about you?
Beer all the way to the top of the glass has me questioning a lot of things about that spot. So yes, I would like a head cap.
Yeah. But there's a group of folks out there that feel like they're getting ripped off if they don't get that beer all the way to the very tip top of the glass. And there's been a lot of chatter about that. They put the glasses in a freezer. They have ice, like electronic ice bars there that you can set your glass on and keep them cold. And they want it filled to the tippy top with no foam. And all of that is wrong. If you like your beer that way, you're wrong. I'm just going to throw that out there for you. But Brian, we have science to support this. We have the science behind Beerhead and why in the world it matters.
I'm just going to say, if you're doing that and you're still buying beer, continue doing it. We want you buying beer. But anyway,
yeah. You can be wrong as long as you're buying beer.
Yeah, as long as you're enjoying your beer, I'm not going to judge you. Those chill bars built into the bar, those are fun.
Brian's woke.
Yeah. So AmericanCraftBeer.com had a pretty cool write-up on the science behind Beerhead, and after I read that, I saw a bunch more of them come out. But and I happened to see this because Charlie Papazian tweeted out a link to this. I'm like, oh yeah, foam. That's important. That's something we like to talk about. As I think everybody knows, Beerhead, or foam, is created from the carbon dioxide escaping from the beer after it's been poured or opened anyway. What keeps the CO2 trapped in the beer foam are proteins from malted barley. Hop compounds also play a part here. They help stabilize the foam, And the quality and longevity of the beer head depends on factors such as the type of grain used, the brewing process, and the cleanliness of the glass. If your glass has all kinds of bubbles on the side of it after it's poured, your head's going to suffer, and it's a dirty glass. It's just a dirty glass. You're not going to enjoy your beer as much as you would without it. So barley and wheat heavy beers tend to have better head retention. And why a good beer head is important is because it enhances the beer's flavor by releasing the aromatic compounds as the bubble bursts when you drink it, and by acting as a lid to trap those aromas in the beer until you drink it. The visual appearance of the head and the lacing it leaves on the glass are often seen as indicators of a well-crafted beer and a good pour. They are functional as well. Lacing in the glass may also contribute to lingering aromas you enjoy as you drink the beer, because that's all down the side of the glass as you're pouring, and your nose gets right in there on them. So it's just releasing a little bits of aroma continuously as you're drinking. Specific proteins are key to foam stability, but factors like high alcohol content and incorrect serving temperature can also negatively impact head retention. Not to mention that if you have low carbonation levels in your beer, it will mean you don't get a lot of head. And it's low carbonation levels are okay in some beer styles, but I've seen it in places where it's not appropriate, and it does really screw up the beer. Another article I read. Were you going to say something, Tim?
I was going to say some beers can be still, and that works for them, but that's not every beer.
Yeah, still lambics are fine. Yeah, I mean, they can
okay
be all right.
Right.
Yeah. Another article I read discussed why Belgian beers are known for such impressive head, and it has to do with how re-fermentation breaks down the LTP1 proteins that are involved in the head. The proteins are so deteriorated that their fragments exhibit both water repellent and water attracting qualities. Mixed messages here, Tim. Mixed messages.
We're getting mixed signals, beerhead.
Yes, it definitely does. This both reduces the surface tension and maximizes foam stability. And this is why beer foam is different between carbonation caused by re-fermentation from forced carbonation. So this is something homebrewers know. If you want a better quality, a finer quality of head, you just put a little extra priming sugar and you re-ferment in there and let it do it. If you force carb it, the bubbles are bigger. It's not quite as good. So the quality of the carbonation you get by forced carbonation, it just isn't the same. It just is not the same. So
no,
but
talking about the beer head, if you know what, if you're one of those people out there that likes your beer glass totally full, I want you to do a little experiment. Get you a couple cans of beer. And you know what, go ahead and chill you a couple shaker pints. You're going to get you 3 shaker pints for this science experiments, for this beer science experiment. You're going to need 3 shaker pints, at least 2, but take your beer and pour it down the side of the glass where you cause no head on it at all. So take a sip of that one. Take a sip, taste it, all that. Take another glass and pour your beer, and pour it like in the middle of the glass without it running down the side. Build you up a little head. Don't pour it so fast that it foams over, but build you up a little head, and drink that and taste that one. Then take that one that you poured with no head on it and pour it hard into that third glass. And maybe pour it back and forth a couple of times and really get the carbonation in there. You're going to notice a difference in the mouthfeel of your beer. You're going to notice a difference in the taste of your beer, the brightness of the beer, everything. So it plays a lot bigger role than you would think. And you most definitely don't want someone, especially, I think from draft, you get a little bit of the carbonation kind of pushed through it there. But especially if you're pouring from a can or a bottle, if you pour it too still, it's just going to be lifeless, so it makes a huge difference in your beer.
I have done when I get the shaker pint, I don't necessarily mind it, because what I'll do is I'll take a hit off of the glass when it's like right up the top, like boss pour, no head. I'll take a good drink off it. I'll grab a straw out of my water, and I'll just like stir it up a little bit. I'll really agitate it to get a good thick head on it, and then put that straw back in my drink and go on to drinking. So like, it's fine. It's just like you didn't pour it right. Let me fix it for you. So you can fix your beer if it's been poured wrong.
Brian and I were at I believe it was kind of a UK pub, because I think they had Irish, English in that. So they kind of represented a few areas of the UK, but we got our beers poured, and they were poured all the way to the top with no head at all, which really shocked me coming from a British Irish pub joint that they would pour like that. But there was so much carbonation captured in that beer. When Brian put his straw in there and shook it, it just foamed all over the table. I mean, there was so much carbonation trapped in that beer. And, I don't know if this has been mentioned yet or not, but if you don't break that up, not only is it impacting the taste of your beer, but that breaks up when you pour it in your belly. So you take a drink of that, all that carbonation trapped in there, every single bit of that gas ends up in your belly, and you're going to be bloated as crazy, probably after about half of beer.
You'll notice the carbonic acid while you're drinking it too. There's a bite to it that when it's all in solution, there's a bite that that's gonna mute some of the other flavors. It's like it'll burn a little bit. Let me tell you, like you release a bunch of that CO2, it drinks so much easier. Like you're not going to sit there bloated and feeling like you need to belch it nearly as much.
Yeah.
It's going to be an easier, more enjoyable drink.
It will. It will be very good. Well, Brian, we got time for one more story here, and I think this is a pretty important one. We had a beer legend pass away. Unfortunately, it seems that there's been a lot of that, but the founder of Red Hook passed away at 82 years old.
Yeah. He was a key, Gordon Boker. He was a key figure in the early craft beer movement and the co-founder of Seattle's Red Hook Brewery. It's from Seattle originally. Passed away, like you said, at the age of 82. He founded Red Hook in 1981 alongside of Paul Shipman. And at the time, the American craft beer market was dominated by just a few large breweries. The brewery has changed hands a lot of times since then. It's wound up all over the place. It's now currently owned by Tilray, the same people that own Sweetwater. He was also one of the original founders of Starbucks Coffee in 1971, as if founding the brewery wasn't enough, and even designed the original iconic Starbucks mermaid logo. Not the one I think you see now, but the original. If you go to the original location, there's a different version of it. I've seen it, and I believe he did that one. But Boker also co-founded the advertising firm Heckler Boker, which created the famous Rainier beer commercials of the 1970s and 1980s, which I think we were talking about recently. Those are great if you've never seen those. So he was a pioneer and a visionary and had a massive impact on both beer and coffee, a couple of my very favorite things. So thank you, Gordon Boker, for everything you did, and rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Thank you, sir, for your service to craft beer.
Yes.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Guys, that does it for our show this week. That's all our time. We are done here. Thank you for tuning in, hanging out with us, everybody. We appreciate it very much. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend to tune in. Tell a friend to subscribe to the podcast and listen every week. If you really, really dig us, we'd love it if you'd support us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. We'll get you in our Discord chat. We'll invite you to the after party, and we will send you some cool swag. Well, with all that said, have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Clear. No outro music this week. We did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope y'all have a good one, and we will see you next week.